Welcome those few that are here and everyone that's online. Will you please join me to pledge the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Martin, could we have attendance, please?
We have 8 school directors present tonight, with Mark Gensel being absent.
And we also have present the superintendent and the administrative cabinet. This is our second meeting of the month where most official votes are taken, many of which were listed on the consent agenda, which were included from last week's routine or have been discussed at our previous work session. There is a slight change this month in that we have several presentations at this meeting that had to be postponed. Our agenda and all subsequent documents are posted on our website. And are there any changes, additions, or deletions from the agenda?
There was one update to the agenda today, action discussion item B. The presentation was updated with the addition of some content based on cabinet discussion today.
Okay. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in approve say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays or abstentions? If not, the agenda is approved, and we'll start with board commentations. Conestoga Valley again served as host to the Pennsylvania TSA Regional Competition. The high school hosted over 350 students in grades 6 through 12 from Lancaster, Lebanon, and Berks County who competed in over 50 different events. The middle school boasted top 3 finishes in 13 different events, while high school students had top 3 finishes in 10 events. In total, CV took home gold in 12 different events between the middle and high school students. Many of these students will now compete in the TSA State Conference. The full list of these volunteers and winners was sent to the board. Conestoga Valley School District received a $7,404 grant stemming from the Pennsylvania Farm Bill and Agricultural Youth Grant funded through the state's Farm Bill. The grant will be utilized to purchase and install a filter system in the district's freight farm, a hydroponic sustainable farm belt inside a climate-controlled shipping container, allowing high-value crops to grow 365 days a year. The freight farm was made possible due to a grant from the Conestoga Valley Education Foundation. Congratulations to the 33 Conestoga Valley High School CTC students who were named to the 2023-24 second marking period honor roll. A student must maintain a grade of 90 to earn honor roll distinction. Congratulations to Conestoga Valley High School junior Sawyer Sensnick, who was named Brownstown CTC's Student of the Month for December. Students are nominated by staff members for their cooperation, initiative, assistance to classmates, and other positive attributes. The nominations are then reviewed by the administration for selection. Congratulations to the Conestoga Valley High School wrestling team, who advanced to its first ever District 3 Class 3A semifinal appearance following a win over Lower Dolphin. CV ultimately fell to number 6 seed at Boiling Springs in the semifinals. Congratulations to senior Luke Morley, who earned his 100th career win during CV's league tournament, and classmate Luke Needham, who captured his 100th career victory in the Buckskins' final bout of the District 3 Class 3A first round match with Cedar Cliff. There are now 2 of 7 Buckskins to earn 100 career victories. Congratulations to the Conestoga Valley High School boys bowling team, who won the Lancaster Lebanon League boys bowling title with 955 and 990 and 934 928 wins over Penn. This marks the Buckskins' first ever tournament title. CV captured the team title despite not being a section winner, placing in Section 2. The Buckskins, however, boasted the second best game average during the regular season, averaging 1,039 pins. Congratulations to Josiah Kassler and Ryan Muckle, who were named section MVPs. Kassler was the individual league champion, followed in second place by Muckle. Kassler defeated Muckle in the final. In addition, teammate Mason Tartabueno captured fifth. All three advanced to the district bowling championships. Congratulations to 9 senior students at Conestoga Valley High School who have committed to playing their respective sports in the collegiate level after graduation this spring. The 9 student athletes were recognized on February 7, 2024 at the school's national signing ceremony. The 9 students are Dominic Epstein, Noah Harrison, Morgan Martin, Isabella Rodriguez, Savannah Santucci, Bennett Saturn, McKenna Scott, Soren Stoltzfus, and Danae Ulrich. And that completes the board commendations. Superintendent's comments.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Groff. Good evening, everyone. Excited, I have 2 new staff members to introduce this evening. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Daniel Rice. Hi, Daniel. Daniel's going to be joining us in the near future as a family and consumer science teacher. He has his Bachelor's of Science in Family and Consumer Science Education from Messiah University, and he also has a Master's of Health and Exercise Science from Penn West University. He's been an FCS teacher in the Northeastern School District since 2018, where he also serves as a department chair there. So we're excited to have him join our team and not only bring his expertise, but also his leadership within family and consumer science. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
And next we have Abdeliz Garcia, who assured me she also goes by Abby, so I won't butcher her name too often for moving forward. She's going to be joining us in the near future as a school psychologist. So Abby has her bachelor's in applied psychology from Albright College, a master's in psychology from Millersville University, and she's currently finishing up some post-graduate work and her school psychologist certification from Millersville University. She's currently doing her internship at Derry Township School District and will be joining us after that. So, welcome. Both of those positions, just for the record, are very hard to fill certification areas in Pennsylvania. So, not that we're not ecstatic about all of our new hires, but family and consumer science and school psychologists are very difficult to fill positions. So kudos to our leadership team as well for being able to find what is essentially a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And kudos to them for finding such a good school district.
Absolutely.
Is that concluded?
That concludes my report this evening.
Okay. Are there any board comments on recent activity? All quiet, staying home and warm? Is there any correspondence, Mrs. Martin?
There is not.
If not, then we'll move on to public, professional, and staff input. Dr. Eloise, you have a presentation.
Yeah. Where do I go to present? I don't even. Thank you.
Well,
Is it weird to stand? It's weird to sit like everybody. Okay. I'll be talking about Origo today.
It's a little slow.
Okay.
It's coming.
I'll be patient.
There we go.
A little delayed. It's not January 16th anymore, but yeah. Okay. So we're good to go, yeah. So this is obviously a priority of our comprehensive plan and part of our instructional model. So we started with the Origo program last year in December at the elementary level. Along the same lines, it's a part of our comprehensive plan here. And so with our modern learning curriculum, Origo is the resource that we're using to hit on those PA core standards. Stage 1, obviously the big ideas and understanding. Stage 2, the assessments, and then Stage 3, the learning plans. Alrighty, so we're focusing on performance tasks, and the first performance task is the students, it's a kindergarten level performance task, and we really try to give the kids the opportunity to incorporate some real world opportunities in their performance tasks. And so this one I thought was really great at the kindergarten level. The students were completing a scavenger hunt, and they were using collaboration to find 10 objects, which sounds super easy, but it does fulfill the one-to-one correspondence skill for math at the kindergarten level. And so collaboration was the CV learner component, and the kids were working together to find those 10 objects and then also count them one-to-one. And obviously the I statement for that component is I demonstrate flexibility and willingness to cooperate and compromise in order to meet a common goal, which was very specific scavenger hunt items. And so here's a picture of some kiddos on that scavenger hunt. This is from Mrs. Midgley's class at Leola. And then here's another image here, so you can see they were counting the objects, and then they were also using their whiteboards to write the correct number that corresponds. Aren't they so cute? All right, so then the next performance task was from a 5th grade classroom, and they were collecting items for the food bank, and then they were computing the volume of the boxes that they collected that were then donated to the food bank, which again has that real world component, but then the CV learner component, of course, is global citizen, so I demonstrate personal, civic, social, and global responsibility, and then compassion, empathy, and respect for others in a diverse society. And again, these cuties, can you even stand it? So here they are with some of their boxes. Obviously they were computing the volume, but then the items were donated to the food bank. Good things happening at Leola. Okay, so then this is the Leola Acadians data, and so the beginning of the year data shows minimal learning loss over the summer months, which really is the goal, and fantastic. We have now also done some mid-year data, so it'll be good to kind of dive in and look for trends over the course of the year. Any questions?
How many students at Leola?
I should actually know that number off the top of my head, and I'm not sure of the current number.
It is our smallest elementary.
It is the smallest elementary school, yeah.
In the 300s?
It is in the 300s, yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a quaint school, that's what I say. Any other questions? Oh, this is an easy group, yeah. All right, I'll take it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Schaefer, PBIS.
Yes, PBIS. We're going to get that presentation up. This is our mid-year update. We did a mid-year update last year at this time too, to give you just a review of what we've done so far. So if you wanted to see what we did last year, that's also in our board notes from the same month, just last year. So you can see the difference. So this is our 23-24 mid-year update. Go to the first page. These are the things that we're going to talk about briefly. Some acronyms, because we like acronyms. So when we talk about the BLT, that's the Building Leadership Team. The DLT is your District Leadership Team. We meet monthly. PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. SPEC is our consulting team that we have contracted with, and that's supporting positive environments for children. And PBS is our Pennsylvania Positive Behavior Support Network that we also use as a guiding light for us. So our key personnel in our district. In the district side is myself, Ms. Dawn Cabry, who is our elementary district coach, and then Ms. Desiree Sandberg, who's our secondary district coach. And on the outside, we use our SPEC consultants, and we use Mr. Tyler Hoffman and Ms. Joelle Jones. So when we talk about implementation, where we are this year is we look at this continuum of stages. And when you look at what we're trying to do with SPEC and in the district, we look at 4 stages of implementation: exploration, installation, initial implementation, and full implementation. And so last year we were at the exploration and installation stage. And so we were really working on building tier 1 leadership teams, and that's that BLT, building leadership teams, training them, identifying who was going to be the lead in the buildings, who was the coach. We're really talking about data review protocol. We're looking at scheduling monthly tier 1 data, and scheduling student and staff for a formal launch for what we did this fall in 2023. So our successes this year is that we're in the initial implementation stage. So yay, we got there. There was a lot of setup and a lot of work that has happened over the last year, but now we're starting to get into that implementation and really pushing things out. So we have really gotten into the next stage, which is we put together, 3 subcommittees where we're really focusing on our stakeholder engagement, coaching, and evaluation. So we had that initial setup, and now we're getting into the weeds, so to speak, on really getting into the next stage. So this next slide is some comparison data, and this is data that we do at the beginning of every year, and it's a baseline check to see where we are in all of those areas. And those areas that have been identified there are the key points in how you get change in a district for PBIS. So we're talking about stakeholder engagement, funding and alignment, our policy development, our workforce capacity, how we're training people, what our coaching looks like, what our implementation looks like. And you can see in the red, that was where our baseline was last year. And you can see in the blue, when we did our evaluation at the beginning of this year, how far we've come in those areas. So in general, it's an 83% increase in how we have addressed all those areas over 1 year. So we're making progress.
The ones where there's just a single,
Well, 0.
there's 4, there's no comparison.
Like on the stakeholder engagement?
Right.
Yep. We were at stage 0 last year. We hadn't even gotten into that work last year. So we have taken that first step this year and to get some more engagement time. So when you see the 0, that means when we did our baseline baseline evaluation, we didn't have any of that work completed last year. So what we have done so far is we've worked with the PBS network. So not only do we work with SPEC, which is our consulting group, but we also work with the state organization, and we're having 2 of our district coaches participating in certification, and they'll be completed by this June 2024, and they also participated in the Professional Development Coaches Day. So we're trying to build that internal capacity consistently at the district, so not just through SPEC, but through who we have here in staffing. We also have our PBIS Elementary Coaches Network, and that is our bi-weekly meetings where we provide our building coaches through our elementary coach, technical assistance, coaching, and then peer-to-peer work. We've done staff kickoff, and that was really exciting to see how that looked in the fall, where we really worked on staff professional development on teaching expectations, how we acknowledge our students, and then also talking about correcting those behavior errors. So it's positive behavior support, but at the center of this is we're looking at error correction. We're trying to get movement to improve behavior. So we talk about strategies and documentation. And then we had student kickoff, and they had awesome things happening across all the buildings in the district. They had assemblies. We talked about branding and rebranding. So when you go through some of the schools, you're going to see a lot of PBIS posters in the hallways, and it talks about expectations or all sorts of different things. But that was the branding activities that we worked on last year, and then we did the kickoff with the students so they understand what they're seeing and the words that people are using, and it's a common language across the district. So we do active teaching and participation for our kids. And then we did a family kickoff. And we have family orientation. We did another open house. We do dissemination and information for PBIS. And then we also do opportunities for that regular updates on what things are happening. So it's really meant to be a partnership between what's happening in school and understanding that language, how that language goes home too. Processes that have happened at Tier 1. And remember, when we talk about Tier 1, we're talking about what all kids get. Tier 1 is what all the services all kids get. So we're talking about how we work through PBIS at a Tier 1 level, how we do our regular team meetings, how we look at data, how you make action planning from your data, and then once we have that Tier 1 established, how we expand that and how we make it better. So some of the barriers, as we went through the successes, here are some of the barriers that we have. There's 3, but they've required a lot of support and a lot of conversation across the district, and it's not unexpected. A new student information system creates some barriers to how we collect data and how we use that data, but we've had a lot of good conversation and a lot of solutions that we have just recently gotten to. So it's been months of trying to figure out a lot of the things that were a major barrier to how we collected our data and how we're able to analyze that data. So we have really went back to our Ed Insights, which is on-hand schools, to take that data out of PowerSchool to be able to be used successfully from our Tier 1 teams to look at what's happening with the data analysis. Again, second part is just another data piece. How do we export that data out so that teams can make their decisions? And then finally, the third barrier is that we're always struggling with how do we allot time with staff and how do we get the support? So we're talking about how the district support can effectively be used and also how we can use our district coaches in a way that they're able to support PBIS, but also understand that they have dual roles. They're also doing the MTS, the bigger MTSS piece and also the bigger SET piece at the elementary. So are there any questions I could answer for you?
This is our second year. Done a lot of groundwork and a lot of organization. When does it become an active program?
It's active now.
It's active.
It's
now.
active now. So what our barrier is and what we have been challenged with is it's active. How are we getting the data out? Because the teachers are doing it, the kids are doing it, everyone's doing it.
What are the results?
Now how do we get the
Yeah.
data out of the
That's
system?
what I was waiting for, to see how
Yes. So
effective
we've
this is.
troubleshooted it in a couple different ways. We have made some decisions that look a little differently for secondary versus elementary, so we're trying to pilot some different ideas to see what we can do. And then we're also open to just looking at a different data system to be able to get that data out in a way that doesn't take someone 3 hours to
Compile.
compile it.
Any other questions?
Since this is a report, do you want to just describe what PBIS, the program is, just real quick, high level, what it is and what it's designed to
Yeah,
do?
it's meant to effectively change behavior. And look at the error correction of behavior, but do it in a positive way that students are able to benefit from feeling like they belong in the school, feeling like they have something to work for, feeling they have buy-in to things. And then when it's like what happens in a family, you know, when they feel like they have something to work for, they have that motivation to do that behavior change. And also have consistency across all people that are trying to do the behavior change. So when we looked at the code of conduct, when we were looking at how we're trying to do discipline practices in a consistent way, that all follows through with what PBIS is. So it's not only the positive piece where we're looking at reinforcing good behaviors and the right choices, but then what happens consistently for when there has been an error. How do we fix that?
Is much rehabilitative philosophy built into this?
Yes. So that's where we marry it with other things that are happening across the district. So that's where we're having conversations about how do we push conversations about learning more about restorative practices. We talk about how we're working with our SEL curriculum, our Character Strong, and we talk about what our practices across the district are on how we do suspensions and detentions and how we make those behavior changes in the classroom.
Any other questions?
I'm just thinking personalities would enter into that and trying to get all the personalities of the staff, of the students.
Definitely, which is why it's important to have coaches. So it's important not to just to roll out a program that allows or gives the opportunity for everyone to kind of do it their own way, but it rolls out a program that you have coaches and you have a lot of teamwork and ultimately oversight and conversation to keep everyone going in the same direction with guardrails.
Anyone else? Thank you. We look forward to your next report where there's more data.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Dr. Grable.
All right, I'm Andy Grable, Principal of Brownstown, here with Ashley Harbeck. Ashley's a rock star kindergarten teacher. She's also elementary science STEM team leader and has been involved a lot in writing the curriculum that we're working on this year for ELA and integrating science. And so, yeah, we just want to kind of give an update with elementary science.
It's coming.
It's coming? Okay, good. Starting out with the first two slides, actually the same ones that Dr. Alois had used, but excited to share how this fits in with the comprehensive plan. As you know, there's a lot of work being done writing curriculum. And for me personally, as long as I've been a principal, science has been kind of a separate, standalone subject area. And it's exciting to see the ways we're working on integrating that with ELA. And so we're just going to kind of highlight what that looks like and where we've been. I think we're actually ahead of some of the districts from what I'm hearing. But yeah, taking the profile of a CV learner, relevant, rigorous learning experiences, looking at the standards and some of the new standards coming down the pike, and trying to integrate that in our language arts curriculum is our goal here. So Ashley's been involved a lot at the IU with the STEEL standards, as well as we had 2 years of working with the IU with a team of teachers, so I'm gonna let her take over from here.
So we are in our third year of working on science. The first 2 years of the process, we really unpacked the STEEL standards, which are new, and we are expected to be using them and following them by the 2025-2026 school year. We are hoping to be integrating it next school year across the grade levels. But the first 2 years, we looked at the standards, we separated them, we figured out what topics were being hit and what grade levels, and then we created STEM challenges for every single grade level that hit multiple standards, and the science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, sustainability, all of those standards. And students would be able to have those hands-on experiences at the end of a unit or whenever the teacher would like to teach them. So it was really fun to go through and see them all. You can see the units that we have for each grade. So kindergarten, we are doing weather and sun, which is the physical science and earth and space science. And you'll see that all of the other grade levels also have earth and space. So that's consistent across the grades. Our next one would be living things, which is life science. And you can see all the other ones also have life science. And then our final one is motion, push and pull, which is physical. And you can see the other grade levels also have physical. So it kind of creates a seamless transition for grade levels where we build off of previous content. So to kind of sum up the STEELs, it's less of teachers talking to students and having them look at textbooks and more hands-on. Most units are going to start with a phenomena, which is a real world situation that asks students what they think is happening, the cause, the effect, and just to get them curious about science and have those conversations. And then throughout the unit, they're going to be learning about things that were happening in that phenomena so they can relate it back to what they saw at the beginning of the unit. So the idea is at the end of the unit, they'll be able to explain what was happening at the beginning in the phenomena.
So actually, this was a couple weeks ago. Dr. Koza brought in a representative from PDE to work with the principals and provide some PD, and this was Dr. Alois. Managed to get this pencil. You can see it's being balanced. We had to sort of balance it on those diving board popsicle sticks, but yeah, she was one of the most talented ones that figured it out. But
She couldn't do that before she finished her doctorate.
yeah, that's part of it. Had I been able to do it, I would have taken a selfie of myself. But no, I had to capture that. But it was even as an adult to experience science, and then out of that to develop the vocabulary, and you kind of you have that experience, and then you can talk about it, discuss it, learn the key anchor patterns and things that work, and then write about it, have discussions. That's kind of the way of it. Versus when I grew up, we read the chapter, we defined the words, and then maybe at the very, very end we would do an authentic experiment or something. But when you start to experience it, you start to realize how good this is for kids. And again, we can integrate with the ELA piece, that they go hand in hand. I think I had a quote, I'm not sure if it's coming up here. Research shows that weaving together science and language development can increase students' academic performance in reading, writing, and science simultaneously. And so I think that's the unique thing that CV is trying to do, to integrate these things.
So this kind of sums up how we are going to integrate our science standards and our ELA standards. In our steels, they have cross-cutting concepts. There are 7 of them that are consistent throughout the grade levels K to 12. So one of them would be patterns. So in kindergarten, our standards about patterns are there, and they're also there in first grade, but they expand on what we learned in kindergarten. And then the same thing with ELA. We have our concepts that we start in kindergarten that get continued every grade level.
Did I miss what STEELS stands for?
It's long. It's science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for those who've been to Brownstown, you've seen some of our innovative spaces, the STEM, and we call it Literacy Lab. We've got 4 of those rooms, and we try to use them to the greatest extent for some of these authentic design challenges and things, and other things. We have a calendar, teachers sign up to take their kids there, but it's a hands-on space. I'm assuming Smoketown has these spaces as well. So just have some random pictures of ways that teachers have been able to get the kids out of the traditional classroom. Here they might be, I think, making applesauce. We're doing some slime experiments, and you just can kind of feel the hands-on inquiry-based excitement that comes from this kind of learning. So yeah, we're excited. Building this in more intentional ways in the curriculum, so that every student across all 4 elementary schools, has a similar experience and opportunity to meet these standards. So yeah. Questions?
I love all the engagement that I'm seeing. I know that word came up earlier today for other reasons, but just to see them actually doing something is great.
It's awesome.
The only downside is by the time you do a complete curriculum cycle, they come up with new standards.
It is a challenge, yeah. And Ashley has printed binders of all the standards, just trying to make sense of it all, but it does seem to be more focused in the past. They I think realize there's too many. We've got to focus on the anchor ones that really will be throughout the grade levels. So, yeah, thanks for all you do to support elementaries.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are professional presentations. At this point in the agenda, is there anyone from the public that would like to address an item on the agenda? Any comments from CVEA? Or any other employee groups? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Before we take a motion, I just wanted to give 2 heads up to make sure you understood. Item E, some of them are in red. Those are the ones that have changed since last year. Item K, those funds are pass-through funds. It doesn't cost the district anything. It comes from the feds, passes through the state or us, whichever direction they're going. With those explanations, are there any other concerns or questions about any item on the consent agenda? If not, I will accept a motion to accept items A through K. I'm sorry, A through L.
So moved.
Different. Have a motion?
Second.
There's a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Hirsch?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Eby?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye. Any questions or comments about the finance and operations reports? The curriculum and instruction report? Anything on federal funds?
You skipped
Action and
Wait,
discussion.
you skipped
What did I say?
number 5, action and discussion, you skipped.
Oh, you're right.
We have a few more presentations.
No, that's right. I was hoping we would have less presentations.
I did, I think that you really wanted to skip the governor's budget.
Oh, I am up to here with a governor's budget, which we don't know how much of it will ever come true.
Well, that's pretty much the message tonight.
Oh, good. Well, then we're done with that. Then we're done with that.
Okay, any questions?
See, we can cut this really to the chase.
I thought this was pretty good with only 3 slides.
Yes, I was impressed.
Well, just to, in case any of you had a chance to watch the governor's budget address 2 weeks ago, after the pleasantries and the introductions, he went straight into talking about funding public education. So that's showing a lot of support for the schools in the state, and it's much needed because some of the changes he's recommending are coming off of the Basic Education Funding Commission's recommendations to change the formula, which if all of that were to happen based on what he's proposing, we would definitely be benefiting. But just some of the big highlights here, he's increasing the basic ed funding formula that's currently in existence by about 200 million. And this is the big one. He's adding $871 million to the basic ed funding formula as part of a new adequacy and investment. So that's the one that we're just not sure how it's going to end up. He's putting an additional $50 million into special education funding. That gives us about $53,000 in addition to what we currently have been receiving. And I looked at our special education costs from 21-22 to 22-23, increased by about $865,000. So we'll take the $53,000. But it's not keeping up with the increase in special education costs. And he has some other grants too with safety, security, mental health. Jill's thrilled that there's an additional $30 million going into pre-K counts. He'll continue with the funding the universal free breakfast. And then he's proposing some cyber charter tuition reform, which we'll talk about in a second too. So what he's proposing in his budget is, and coming out of the Basic Ed Funding Commission, is that whatever district receives in basic education funding for this year, 23-24, that becomes our new base. Everybody will get what they got this year. Nobody will get less. And then if you qualify for the $200 million additional that he's putting into the one formula, for CV, that would give us an additional $431,000, and adding that to the $7.4 million, which is our base. But if this new adequacy investment in the formula were to go through, it would generate an additional $1.8 million for Conestoga Valley School District. So that would be a total of $2.2 million more than what we're receiving this year. And that would definitely be very helpful. But we've got a long ways to go until the governor's budget's approved. And as you all know, a lot of times our budgets have to be approved before the states. We have to have it approved by June 30th.
So I understand that basically we all become whole harvests.
Yeah.
And then those that we had concerns with before, so people stay there as we catch up.
Mm-hmm. So this would definitely be a benefit for us. I just don't know how much we're going to get. I'm going to a conference in 2 weeks, hoping to gather some information from the conference and get a better feel. But I'll be working through that. That's my challenge in the next few weeks, and then coming back to you each month with some updates for you regarding the budget. And I just could not show you this, that if his proposal for the cyber tuition rate were to go through, it would save $555,000 out of this year's budget alone. So, and that's annually, that's each year. Now, we do know that because of COVID, our enrollment in the cyber charter schools increased. But we're paying almost $1.2 million right now each year for the cyber tuition costs. So we'll see if anything gains some traction there. So that is the very brief update. It looks like good news, but we don't know what the final product's going to be.
Knowing that there's always two sides to all of these discussions.
Yes.
Are there certain aspects of this that the other side of the aisle is especially aiming at?
Yes, and the Basic Ed Funding Commission, both sides agreed that the current base year funding, what we were getting this year, $7.4 million, that should stay. moving forward and what the governor's proposing. They're also agreeing, for the most part, with the funding that's going into the first part of the formula, the 431,000. So that looks pretty solid for us right now. What is going to be the, where we're going to need that crystal ball is, are we going to get the 1.8 million or not? And then if we don't have a budget, state budget, how do we move forward in budgeting? We don't want to under budget and then all of a sudden have all this revenue. On the other side, we don't want to over budget and then not get, all of this. So I've kind of got a bit of a plan that I'm working on for if we have to approve our budget before the state's budget is approved and we get less funding than what we've budgeted. Is there, and if it's significant, is there something then that we have in the budget, we just say, it's not going to happen this year?
Are we allowed to amend the budget? in any
Yes,
way?
that's the other opportunity, is if we come in too low with what we're budgeting and all of a sudden we get like 500,000 more, we can certainly go back and open the budget and say, okay, here's the additional subsidy that we're getting, and here are the additional expense items that we want to bring back into the budget.
Any questions?
Good questions.
I know there's a lot of talk about just, spending more money, not being the answer, and my response has always been, it's not the amount of money, it's what it's going to be spent to do. And I have no problems with certain limitations for that. Some schools especially need money to rehab their buildings, but don't let them tell you it's just money.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, Idette. This additional funding could very possibly, and I didn't hear anything about it, could possibly come with some restrictions on it, that, okay, you can only use it for this. Well, that is very difficult sometimes to do.
If you're doing the same guidelines for every district, that's difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
It's another thing if you're allowed to explain what you're going to do with it before you get it.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Any other questions? Stay tuned.
You got that right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comprehensive plan, Dr. Hartman, Dr. Kozer, Mrs. Schaefer.
Okay, so this is gonna be a team effort. Wait till my IT gets up here. So we don't have a whole PowerPoint presentation for everybody. We just have a single document we'd like to share as a summary draft of the goals and action steps that we're proposing for our comprehensive plan for through 2027. So just my role in this is to kind of share a little bit about the process and the background. So we have a steering committee that's made up of various community stakeholders, not only a lot of members of our administrative team, teacher representatives from throughout the district, various community stakeholders. We're required to have so many parents on that committee, local business leaders, and other community leaders are a part of that. So we've had 3 meetings so far, and the way the process has unfolded, meeting number 1, we really just looked at our past plan. We kind of looked at what we were doing 2021 through 2024, where we are at, what our status was on the goals that we established then, what should we continue, and so forth. And we also talked a little bit about our district vision, mission, and values, and making sure that whatever we plan for our next comprehensive plan, whatever goals and initiatives we establish align to our district vision, mission, and values. So it was just kind of a launch meeting to really set the stage for where we were going. We even just talked a little bit about what the role of a steering committee is and how it's not a planning committee, it's not the development committee, it's the steering committee. The goal of that group is not really to sit down and write every single goal for the district, but to help point us in the right direction, to steer us towards the direction we want to go. And so then in a second meeting, we really dove a little deeper. We talked about more specific those big focus areas that the district established and what areas we'd like to see us continue. And then in our last meeting, we actually presented some proposed goals and action steps, which you're seeing here this evening. And then the stakeholder groups I had the opportunity to ask questions, to look at those goals, to offer suggestions on how to tweak them, which there were, and we were able to make some adjustments and tweaks from there. And that leads us to where we are this evening, where we're ready. We feel as a leadership team in the district, we're ready to present an overview of those goals and action steps for tentative adoption, so that in March we can present a final report on the comprehensive plan for approval and submission to PDE. So comprehensive planning, for anybody who's not been involved, it's a very detailed process. There's a lot of, not only is it setting goals and action steps, there's some requirements for what those goals can be centered around. There's a lot of ancillary reporting that goes along with. It's not just this document you see here. This is more for public consumption, but it's kudos to our team who develops that plan, because it is a very detail-oriented, involved process, and the steering committee really plays a critical role in helping us kind of set that direction. One thing that came out of this cycle of planning that we didn't expect was there was a lot of conversation around our district vision, mission, and values, where there wasn't necessarily the appetite to say, our vision doesn't really represent what we're trying to do as a district, but there was some conversation on just wording, not necessarily maybe meaning or anything that's substantive with our vision, mission, and values, but there was a lot more talk than we anticipated around, our vision and mission statements sort of both kind of read as a mission statement, so maybe we need to look at kind of tweaking one of them, and just some language changes. So what we agreed to do is, we didn't think it was critical to update our district vision, mission, value statements in order to set program goals. Nothing that would have changed it is going to substantively change the direction of the district. But so we did agree to kind of create a parallel committee or task force to look at our vision, mission, and values once the comprehensive plan's approved moving forward. Because when you do that, if you're going to make any type of tweaks or changes to those types of statements that are very public facing, you want to do it right. You don't want to just rush to do it, because that changes what you put on your district letterhead. It changes what you put on your website and things like that. So that is something we might be asking a community group to come together here in the near future to look at that visioning process. But we didn't think anything that would come out of that would, like I said, necessarily change goals and initiatives. The other thing we heard, I not only from the steering committee, but even in my role as being new to the district, as I've been going around doing a lot of stakeholder engagement, is there is a lot of current initiatives that we feel are going well in the district, and we need to continue that course. We're on a good trajectory as far as some of the programs, some of the curriculum work. So really, I would say kind of the mission, the theme of this comprehensive plan is let's finish the race, let's finish the job. We have a lot of good things in place. We don't need a lot of new initiatives. We just need to get to the next step of completing the job on some of our initiatives. So you will see some reorganization within this comprehensive plan. We kind of changed the titling of the focus areas and so on. I'll let my team speak to that. But you won't see a lot of new initiatives, just kind of the next step of current initiatives within there. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over. I'm not sure who's going first. I think Mrs. Schaefer is going to talk about one of our proposed area of, our focus area or strategic priority, which is learner personalization and growth, and what our goal and action steps are around that.
Yeah. So to piggyback on that, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be furthering our work with MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support. And so that falls directly underneath learner personalization and growth. And that's where we're really taking us to the next level. So similar to how I presented with the PBIS, where we had laid the foundation and we went through that initial work to figure out what we needed to do, then we get into implementation. So we've had a year of really working together as a team and figuring out what we need to get MTSS established across the district. So when we're going into this comprehensive plan, we're talking about really getting our tier 1 practices and evaluation pieces and decision-making really solidified, looking at a dashboard, which we have listed up there. We can open that up later though. But really looking at how we make our decisions and then extending our tiered support to tier 2 and tier 3 and continue to work on that over the course of this comprehensive plan, which is the additional support for students that may need more attention past a tier 1. And so that CV MTSS dashboard is part of this goal piece. If you want to click on that we would be developing a dashboard.
I can't get into it.
Click. Click, click, click. So we'd be developing a dashboard as a clearinghouse for all the things that fall under MTSS. And if we could get it up, I don't know if we will be able to, but if we're able to, I can show it to you. The dashboard has MTSS as the main heading, and then we have pieces below. So here's the beginning of our dashboard. So you can see underneath there are buttons, PBIS dashboard, our social emotional learning dashboard, our trauma informed practices and equity. We would also be having the academic piece associated with this MTSS dashboard that will be built out over this course of this comprehensive plan. Dr. Hartman, if you go up to the top where that home is highlighted, if you click down PBIS, you're going to be able to see that dashboard open up. Just click on the PBIS word itself. And so this dashboard has been developed over the course of this year through our first year. You can see that we have our core beliefs, we have our quick clicks that go to our monthly reports, just all sorts of different district data. We have timelines and some key points for us, and then it links us to each of the building level dashboards to be able to see what's happening in each of the buildings. So if you look at that as the kind of the model for what the rest of the dashboard is going to look like, that is going to be a takeaway from this comprehensive plan for how we develop our MTSS across all of those areas.
Where'd it go?
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So that is the first goal area. And as Sarah said, the MTSS piece is not necessarily new. It's a get it to the finish line completion in the next 3 years. The last 3 years were exploratory training, learning. We want to get this to the point where it's ready for staff to access and have the information at their fingertips. Same with this second goal as well, the learner well-being, achievement, and belonging. There are not new pieces here. This is work that we're carrying over that we spent 3 years diving into and really building the foundation for, and now we're ready to get it to full completion. So you see 2 goal statements right there. One is based on our overall proficiency levels, ELA and math, and one is based on addressing the achievement gap that exists between some of our highest number of student subgroups. There's 2 on there because, as Dr. Hartman said, this process has relied so much on our committee that actually this is my small group on the committee, and we haven't decided yet which direction we're going to go with the goal. I have some data that I need to get to them. That group is actually going to make the decision on which direction we go, how we really want to measure the outcome of what we're doing. So I wanted to put them both there because we are still grappling with the goal statement that we think best captures the action steps in this area. For the learner well-being, achievement, and belonging, it's really coming down to that CV instructional model, those 3 big areas: positive learning environments, rigorous and relevant learning experiences, flexible learning environments. We want to make sure that we're going piece by piece through that instructional model and giving our teachers the support that they need to anchor those practices into their day-to-day instruction. And so it's really similar to the action steps that were in the previous plan. Action step 1 focuses on the standards-based curriculum, and that includes looking at our assessment practices of that curriculum. So you've heard a lot about modern learning over the past couple of years. That is still a front and center goal going into this next
last plan, anchoring those pieces into other content areas and making sure that we have a system-wide curriculum that we are adhering to. Number 2 then is focused on continuing the work with PBIS. You had that update tonight. You know that it's still in progress, and we don't want to change course. We know that we're moving in a good direction there, so that action step will remain. Action step 3, K-12 SEL program. You've heard a lot over the past couple of years about our Character Strong program. You see your students bringing those materials home, having those conversations. Again, not new. We want to make sure that we're anchoring these pieces that we started in the last plan, that we're getting the results that we want to see with our students. And then action step 4, this was a little bit of a shift. In the previous plan, we had the growth and achievement and the equity audit work as a standalone. Really, in our CV instructional model, we talk about one of the critical pieces being an inclusive environment for students. And so that action step 4 reflects the findings and the priority areas that we will receive from the TESO equity audit, and then identifying which specific pieces we want to take on as a district. So that is where that now fits in. It's in there as a part of our instructional model. So we were like, let's put it in the instructional model goal area because we believe it just fits under that piece of well-being, achievement, and belonging. So that's the second big area that we're looking at.
The third big area, similar to the first two, is continuation of items or things from that first plan, refinement of them and so forth. So when you're looking at this one here, we're looking at innovative and community partnerships. Before, it talked about mutually beneficial relationships between us meaning district and the community. This is getting more refined in here. So when you look at the goal itself, it's looking at our students and our learners, preparing them for their future, connecting them with local partnerships and so forth that allow them to explore opportunities for them as they develop their thought of what their future is going to look like as far as employment and opportunities for them. So when you look over to the action steps, focused around that whole thing around the profile of a CV learner, trying to pull these things together. Remember, in the first plan, we had 4 priority areas. Now we have 3 because we're refining it and pulling things together. So this is an example of that. The profile of a CV learner, looking at how do we take the profile in the modern curriculum that we're working on and we'll continue to work on for the next couple of years and look at transdisciplinary skills. In other words, what I'm learning in the classroom, how does that transfer to life outside of maybe the specific content area, maybe outside the specific classroom, but then out to life, right? How do I take those skills and apply them more broader? And so that's an element of it. Another element of it is how are we as a staff reporting that out to our families? How are our students doing and so forth? So connecting that to report cards and communications that go home, because if we believe what we said, that the profile of a CV learner is important, then it's important, right? And we got to do a number of things to make sure that we are reinforcing that. Reinforcing it in the classroom, reinforcing it when we're developing programs, and we're reinforcing it when we're communicating. Whether it's communicating to parents, whether it's communicating to the community, what that needs to look like and what that and why it's important. Also, so when you look at the next thing is expanding higher education opportunities. Over the years, we've been very fortunate to have opportunities for our students at the high school to be involved in either dual enrollment classes or college and high school classes. Both of them ended with college credit, but the college and the high school is our staff being certified by the college to teach their course, and our students are awarded credit. The dual enrollment is more of our students going out to them. So both of them are both viable and appropriate, but looking at how can we expand what opportunities for our students and continue to look at that and making sure that all our learners are aware of what's available to them. When we talk about the equity and so forth, making sure that all learners understand that these opportunities are in front of them and they are very much an option for them. And how then do they get there? So supporting students in that sense. It's also tying it into looking at making sure our families understand what are the pathways for post-secondary. You know, it may be college, it may be something else. Making sure our families understand those pathways and that they are actual pathways for their children. The next one here is looking at the work-based learning. Again, expanding what we're doing. We have some areas where we have credentialing, but we want to expand those opportunities where it's appropriate and where it makes sense. I had mentioned at one of our previous meetings, we talked about Act 158 as far as the pathways for graduation. You know, part of this goal here, or this action step here, is embedding those credentialing in different courses so that as students go through our programming here, and if they need one of those other pathways other than just passing the Keystone exams, it's already there for them. And it's not, you don't have to go create something or reinvent something. It's our program's preparing them, regardless of how well they do on the test. These things are layered into the coursework. So looking at how are we expanding that and making sure that we are offering quality programming. You know, so we talked about job shadowing and so forth, that it's, you know, really meaningful job shadowing, not just something to do, but something that's really going to be informative for our students. Also, expanding our as a faculty, our understanding and appreciation of what does industry look like. We had 2 years so far of industry tours for the high school, as a very coordinated effort by Mrs. Upton. And again, a main focus of that is to help our staff understand what industry is looking for. You know, what are those skill sets? How does the profile of a CBA learner help us help our students go forward? And I think it's been very, very eye-opening and successful for our educators, because most educators were students and have been learners themselves and just went right into teaching. They really didn't necessarily work in industry and maybe don't have all the insights that would help them inform their students as to the why. Why and how does this apply? So some key pieces there. Looking at the Community Partnership Coalition, I think we've kind of rebranded this in a number of different ways over the years, but looking at pulling together a group of local professionals that help guide our programming, that help give us the resources that we need to be taking a look at, and help provide us with the opportunities to make sure that we have career-ready experiences for our learners. It's more of a think tank, maybe a way of looking at that. Next thing is artificial intelligence. I don't know if Dr. Martin was talking about this one, but I think I mentioned last time that with all the work that's being done, you know, this has exploded onto the scene relatively quickly. And Dr. Hartman has taken a group of CV professionals to I think a 3-workshop series, I believe, at Conestoga University, in just opening up and explaining where this is and where it's potentially headed. And where does it fit appropriately into our programming? You know, you can't hide from it. We shouldn't hide from it. We need to prepare our learners for how to embrace it so that they can leverage it themselves as they move forward. So putting together a task force that will help guide this process. I would also just add, kind of as a side note to that, you know, as we begin and continue our work in the modern curriculum and looking at writing curriculum, looking at how, as we're writing, intentionally embedding opportunities for AI and where is it appropriately fit and so forth. So obviously something that will continue to develop when it comes to programming as well as policy and procedures. And then lastly, looking at the learner engagement, just to make sure that we have our ears to the ground, so to speak, from our students, that we're getting feedback from them as we continue forward with our programming, that we're meeting their needs, that And we'll look at a variety of ways to do that, to solicit that input from them and their parents and so forth. But all this is fine and dandy, but if we're not meeting the needs of our students, then it's all for naught. So making sure that as we put these programs in place, we're listening to and looking at what's in front of our students. Because ultimately, when you go over to the goal, it says we want to prepare students for life after high school, whatever that is, life after high school. So they're ready to go. So that's the third area.
So our next steps, and then we'll answer any preliminary questions you have. This will go up within the next day or two. So there's a public review period that we need to have it up on our website. We'll put it out in the Buckskin Blast, and I'll ask the principals to send it out through their channels as well. But we'll put the highlights up for public comment. We'll have a Google form that people can send in any feedback, ideas, responses. We'll get some staff input. We have a couple of different groups, curriculum council, some other groups that we want to run through for feedback as well. So this is the time where, as far as the school board goes, you get to kind of reflect on this, talk to people, hear what's going on, and then March 18th, we'll come back, we'll do a summary of any of that feedback or short presentation, and then we will ask for a standalone vote that evening of the full plan. So we will have the final ready for you to go. But it's nice because you get the preview now, and then you have some time to think about it and identify any areas that you would like to know more about before we ask for that vote. So that's what to expect as far as next steps with the comprehensive plan.
One other thing I just want to mention real quick for those who aren't as familiar, when you see the full report, when we have to actually go in and physically develop our plan within the portal that PDE provides, for each of these action steps, we actually have to identify like annual interim targets. So where you see these action steps are they're actionable, some of them read more measurable than others. But within the plan that we submit, that we have to submit, I'm trying to find one that might just be a good example to show, like, we would, as they read now, these are like our, by the end of 2027, we want to be here. But when we develop the plan, it actually goes down to the level of, well, where do you want to be by the end of year one? Where do you want to be by the end of year two? And so on. So that is all stuff that's reported out. And then throughout the course of the plan, there's interim reporting and interim kind of monitoring and adjusting that happens within that portal that we submit to the state. So this is, as detailed as this is, there's another granular level of detail that we have to go to in what we submit to the Department of Education. And you will have access to all that. For the sake of tonight and what we're seeking kind of general public feedback on over the next month will be just these kind of overarching goals and so on. So that's why we're here this evening for tentative approval, so that we can then publicly post this, as well as the opportunity for individuals to get feedback.
Comments, questions, concerns? It will be interesting to see what they do with the mission vision statements. Do I assume that under goals, only the second one actually says goal statements, that'll be uniform, that there will be specific goals?
I think because as Dr. Kozer described, I don't want to put words in your mouth, those are all, like under each of those are the goals, but for number two, because we're still kind of teetering between the wording and how we want to wordsmith it, we just put goal state, like it's option one, option two.
Under action steps for learner personalized growth, you talk about 6 through 8 and K through 5, but nothing about 9 through 12. Is that yet to be discussed?
We've went back and forth on this multiple rounds. Dr. Hartman, that was your breakout room,
So
correct?
I facilitated that group discussion, that small group discussion, and we explained, a multi-tiered system of support, PBIS, all that's happening K-12.
Yeah.
We kind of use the words, just because it's a comprehensive plan, as that's how it's called, it's not comprehensive in that not every little thing you do in the school district is articulated in your comprehensive plan. There's things happening out in our buildings that are happening that aren't part of our, your comprehensive plan is your focus area, so we, the high school is just at a different place with implementation. They're more in that exploratory phase right now, which is what our elementaries do. So we debated, do we write a third action step specifically for the high school? They're doing it anyway. Do we need to encapsulate that in the comprehensive plan or not? Ultimately, we erred on let's not, because if you look at the plan as a whole, if you go down to the priority or focus area 3, learner innovations and community partnerships, a lot of those action steps are high school heavy, like creating internships, creating credentialing opportunities, dual enrollment. So we're like, the high school sort of, how much do we want to pile onto the high school? Like, yes, they're still doing multi-tiered system of supports at the high school. They're still doing PBIS at the high school, but do we want to make that a focus area when their focus area, they're heavy in some of the other priorities of the district, and we kind of erred on not. That's certainly still up for discussion. If that's something we were to get feedback on, we could. But we feel the high school already has a lot of measurable tasks assigned to them within this plan.
Okay. It stands out when it stops there. I just want to say with the board, if there is any alphabet soup here that you don't understand, ask now. Because the bigger this document gets, the more that's going to expand. And you don't want to find yourself, up to your eyeballs in terminology you can't follow. So, if you don't understand MTSS or PBIS or PCBL or SLE or SEL, ask now. Or forever hold your peace.
And one of the things we talked about, that the state document is very confusing, and it ends up being a 100+ page like the full comprehensive plan. One thing I've done in the past, I think would behoove us to do is once we have that plan approved, what we will develop is, for lack of a better term, executive summary of the comprehensive plan, and I think a glossary of terms is also a key part of that executive summary. So we will ultimately we'll create like a public facing executive summary that's more easy readable, easy to understand, and we can clearly define all the alphabet soup and acronyms and.
Nothing will turn the public off faster than finding they have no idea what you're talking about.
And giving credit to the team, I will say, I think that was one of the intents of why we redesigned the overarching categories. So for example, like the first, under goals, the first priority area or focus area is learner personalization and growth. That makes more sense to a non-educator than multi-tiered system of support. So we kind of put under the action step, we kind of put what that means in educational lingo. So learner well-being, achievement, and belonging. I think it generally can understand that, but not everybody might not be. Most of those action steps have to do with our CV instructional model, but a lot of people might not know what our CV instructional model is, but they can understand learner well-being, achievement, and
I found with our last document, I would find terms like the instructional model, and then I'd be going through trying to find, where do I find what that is?
So we need to post this, correct?
Yes, we
Yeah,
have
we-
to approve this.
We're gonna approve it tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna approve it tonight.
The draft?
But it's tentative approval, providing it's going to be further developed. But it ensures them that we follow where they're going and we're okay with that.
You wanna do that tonight, or do you wanna do it?
I want to do it right now.
That's fine? Do you need a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Someone new wanna take a shot at it?
No,
You're in the zone.
you opened this can of worms.
Am I in the zone?
finished
You
it.
are.
All right, thank you. I move that we approve the Conestoga Valley Comprehensive Plan for 2021-2024. The highlights, it's a draft.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nays or abstentions? If not, you're free to move ahead. 'Cause
Yeah,
if you-
I would like to just make sure we really get the word out, because I really like to get some comments
and just not have it from the public.
Well, I
I know what you're
think that's
trying.
built into your
It-
process,
it
isn't
is.
it?
But, yes, just make sure people know about it.
Tell them, don't tell me.
Make sure people know about it. Just go to the source, go to the boss.
No, I'm not,
Uh,
not in this. This is
Chances
my
are,
favorite.
usually we don't receive a lot of comments on this, but
Right.
I just don't wanna
Yeah.
have someone say I didn't know.
Right.
Just give people the opportunity, and if they do, they do, if they don't, they don't. And I'm good with that.
And one of the things, when you open up to those comments, and keep in mind, there's a steering committee that is made up of community stakeholders who's involved in planning it. Sometimes with that, I agree with you, we wanna certainly welcome those comments. Sometimes it will involve us following up with people to kind of a lot of times you'll get people, like, I don't think this should be a focus of the district. I think a priority is upgrading your playground equipment on it.
True.
We have to kind of clarify, there is kind of very narrow things based on like the state essential practices. And like this isn't about, this has to be specifically about programs and curriculum and stuff like that, not, you know, like.
In my view, comments are comments.
Yeah.
You know, you give people the opportunity to give comments, and you can either take them or not, and incorporate them or not, if it's way out in left field. But you're giving people ownership, number one. You're giving everyone the opportunity to at least give input and feedback. And if we go with the plan and somebody doesn't like it, we can say, you didn't provide any feedback or comments.
Well, I do know there are times when we do large projects like this, there are people that say, well, how do these people get on that committee? So, you know, I think there's something relevant to what he says, if you could find a way to get some broader feedback along the way.
Might spark interest, it might spark other things, so, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll keep that in mind. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, finance and operations report. Any concerns or questions? Curriculum and instruction report. Are there any federal funds to report? The IU and PSBA reports. You will see in front of each of your places an IU document. This isn't really the same as the PSBA list. This is more attitude behavioral perspective, one that they worked on, and they've been sharing this with all the other school districts. The IU is also, I don't think I brought it with me, and perhaps I could share that for next week. Information about their latest construction project in Lebanon. Again, it was done with no mortgage. I'm so envious of them, but it's a great addition. For the PSBA report, for anyone interested, they came out with this study they do every year. If anyone wants to read this, you're welcome to look at my copy. If not, it's online, or you can request a printout. They only have so many, but they do have some available. Here's the IU one. I'll share that next month. As far as the calendar report that I gave you, the only thing to be added to that was that on February 9th, there was a state budget webinar that you may have missed. If so, the recording is at my SPA. They'll keep it up there for, I guess, a week or two if you wanna hear that. I did not mark on this the March 14th Spring Legal Roundup. It's virtual for those of you that are interested, but can't travel. But the whole thing is virtual. Penn SSI, that's their new arm for security. They are offering online certification. I'm not quite sure exactly who it's for. They talk about for district leaders in their role in evaluating cyber risk and risk prevention. The only other thing I picked up from what they've been sending me was a number of articles about things to be aware of as we do our budget. and they're talking about money not going as far and less money coming in. Money not going as far because of rising prices. It's in everything that we buy, just like it is for you. Shortage of qualified employees is only part of the reasons why salaries will be going up. Because of the pandemic, we possibly have less of this than some districts, but learning has been impacted by mental health problems. And finally, last but not least, federal and state funding has programs that will now be ending. I mean, you're not going to be hearing any more. We use COVID-19 money for this. We've done that. I know, is there any left? We've used it all.
It's all committed.
Yeah, it's committed.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because we're not wasting it then if we've got it committed, but we won't be hearing that anymore. So, you know, don't ask her if any of COVID-19 funds are gonna pay for whatever they're proposing. But the state will be in some ways giving less, possibly. The state revenue boom is over. It's leveled out, if not receded. And the effects of a lot of those special programs that they had in place are ending. They're going away, those programs won't be there. So there are a lot of things that actually show us revenue going down. So just, you know, we need to be very careful as we look at our upcoming budget. And that's all I have to say about that. Any questions? CTC report.
Yeah, I have to start off and apologize because I thought I sent the thing over to you, Marilyn, and apparently I didn't. So that's my fault. No, you didn't get it. I thought I sent it over to you, and then I realized that I did not when I saw it on here. So I'll just highlight some things quick. Like you said in your accommodations, I wanted to give a shout out to Sawyer Sensnick. He was a Brownstown Student of the Month. He's enrolled in the Introduction to Culinary program at Mount Joy campus, so wanted to give him a shout out. A couple other things to highlight real quick. The CTC house project is going along well. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that. They basically at Mount Joy campus, they subdivided off some lots and they try and build a house. They have usually like 3 houses going on in 3 different stages. One in stage 1, one in stage 2, one in stage 3, and then when upon completion, then they sell them off. The last one was sold in 2022 in July for $415,900, and then that goes back into the program. But I think it's a really good idea. It gives them, since most students there are seniors only, we have a couple juniors and stuff, but most of them only have 1 full year in there. Having a house in each stage kind of gives them to do like something on each stage of the thing, going through everything from design to the building to the cabinetry and installation and all kinds of stuff. They do work some with some contractors for some of the stuff that they are not skilled in yet, like pouring the basement walls and stuff like that. But overall, it's a really good program. Also highlight the American Culinary Federation, the ACF, visited the Mount Joy Culinary Program the other month and had no findings, which is very good. They were really proud of that, so I wanted to pass that along. They made a change in the handbooks, and now snow days can be virtual learning days. Even if the school district's closed, students can do virtual learning.
Does that mean they would be closed, but they're there, that they wouldn't have to make it up there even though ours would make it up?
Yes. And on February 10th, they had their Sealant Saturday where children ages 6 to 14 can go and get their teeth sealed for free. They offer that's actually the adult dentistry program that does that, but just wanted to highlight that. They do that every year, so.
I didn't realize that.
Their Sealant Saturday that they have in February. If you have children ages 6 through 14, you can take there for your teeth to get sealed for free and stuff. You have to sign up for it.
We should promote that.
But, yeah.
That'd be good.
Yep. And that was it.
Any questions? Construction update.
I'll
If you
give a
don't have
report
good
on
news, we
the,
don't want to hear it.
oh, I'm sorry.
I said, if you don't have good news, we don't want to hear it.
I think it's pretty much good news.
Okay, mostly.
Most, yes. Smoketown I'll start with. Smoketown's in the process now of, the design professionals are performing their quality control review. Some of these lists have been already published and the contractors are working on those now. There are some items, I think one that everybody's been aware of for a while, that the switchgear, that's the bad news. That got pushed even farther. That's out in, unless you might have heard something along the line, but that got pushed out into May. Is the delivery date on that. And I'm sure that affects the move from admin and that type of thing. But presently, that's the best that they've gotten from Square D. There is another breaker that they did get some good news on that should be arriving here in another 2 weeks, but it's really switchgear is the problem now. Of course, there's power in the building, but it's going to be that 2-week transition to transfer the new gear to the old gear to the new gear.
That really won't affect our occupation.
It
should be no law.
It should not, but we do want to confirm with the AHJ, with the authority having jurisdiction, we want to confirm that, I mean, all life safety will be up, all items like that will be operating as they were intended to operate. We haven't gotten a confirmation from him. It's not that he's waffling on it, it's just we want to make sure that doesn't cause any issues that way. But because we have power, I mean, the building is powered, it has all systems working. And they'll continue, there's a couple things in Smoketown, there's a couple pieces of casework that were back ordered, they've come in, so that means the plumber has to now put sinks and faucets in that. But for the most part, it is complete. There's some, I think one of the last things they're gonna be working on is flooring. I don't know if you remember early on, it was decided that much of the corridor or common area product called Fritz tile, was an old type of a tile, was to remain protected and remain. Well, it did, and it was very well protected, and so now they're piecing that back in the areas that they can. That's pretty much it on that. That's the media center that we're scrolling by. That's food service, of course. And I think another food service, that's the serving line. And I think the last couple photos, another angle of the serving line, the last couple photos will be just typical classrooms. Just a view of 2 different typical classrooms. I can speak on Leola. There's not much to say there, but other than contracts have been let, I think everybody's aware of that. The submittal process is ongoing, so all the contractors, the prime contractors are submitting all their products. They're putting together their schedule of values for applications for payment and those type of front end paperwork that has to be done. RFIs are coming in, questions are coming in now for clarifications, that kind of thing. So those things are being dealt with and cleaned up.
When will we start getting project status?
From Leola?
Yeah.
I don't suspect much before maybe mid-May.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything to add to that by the construction committee? Anything important to go on there that you wanted to bring to our attention?
I don't think so. Oh, they said about that switch, like
Yeah.
Fred said, switch gear
Okay.
in May and taking 2 weeks to install it.
Are there any other reports? I was at the CVEF meeting this week, and there was a lot of talk about the Freight Farm. Magic date of March 11th. If they have everything in place, they'll be able to plant and have a crop this year. So I don't know what's gonna happen between now and March 11th, but that's the magic number for this year. Any other reports? If not, is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any issue of interest? If not, then board comments or announcements. Any concerns, issues the board members would like brought up?
Musical's out. Be The Little Mermaid this year. That'll be nice. April 5th, I believe, is the first date.
Okay, look
So
forward to
keep that in
that.
mind. It's a good show. Musical, yeah, they do the plays.
Wet,
What's that?
it's a wet show.
The musical
Yeah.
and the plays. They do a really good show.
That's what I meant.
Pardon?
Just stop, Mike. Just click
What's
on.
that?
She made a joke.
Made joke? Really?
You didn't get
I said it would be wet.
It'd be wet, yes.
I just remember shows elsewhere where they had water and everything else going on. That can be a mess.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll find a way to get around that. I apologize, folks. It's getting late. The dates for next month's meeting are listed. Hopefully, we'll have no reason to postpone anything next month. And if that's all, I will take a motion to adjourn to executive session for any legal or personnel reasons.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.